Welcome to the Senior Moments podcast, brought to you by SCAN, the Senior Citizens Activities Network, and our friends at Keller Williams Real Estate Homedale, Mark Vigiani. My name is Mike Cevellino, Executive Director here at SCAN, joined each and every week on this podcast by my co-host. She's so talented, folks. There's nothing really this woman can't do, right? You do like 52,000 things.
I don't know if I could bartend.
You want to talk about that? All right, we will. Andrea Tarr, ladies and gentlemen, Communications Director here at SCAN. How's it going?
It's going well. So
We've been busy.
First week of classes, new semester, which always equates to some craziness, but good craziness because, you know, it's been quiet over the summer. And we've had art, tap dancing, languages,
And signups have just been robust.
Oh yeah, it's been great. It's off to a great start.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. And now we've got a couple of other events coming up in the next few weeks. We've got the third annual Dementia Wellness event at Calgo Gardens. That's September 21st, this Thursday. And then the following Wednesday at the Wonder Bar in Asbury Park is Caring with Karaoke, which is put on by the Monmouth Regional Chamber of Commerce, where SCAN is... We're just grateful to be the beneficiary of that event. So, folks, if you are so inclined, we'd love to have you join us for either of those. All you have to do is go to the SCAN website at scannj.org, and you'll find all that information right on our homepage.
It's our second honor from the Monmouth Regional Chamber of Commerce.
I know.
It's very exciting.
It is. They're just so good to us.
Yeah, they really are. It's been great. I feel like we're off to a great year.
I think so, too. So, and with that in mind, we have a fantastic guest today, someone who's relatively new to the SCAN family, right? This year?
Say all of our guests are fantastic.
That's true, but especially so. He has that new guest, like a new car. You get in it and it's brand new.
True. He's relatively new to this.
So that's our guest today. So, ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman who is with us today is. His company is a sponsor of SCAN, but more than that, his company and himself are an integral part of our community. They do a lot of great work for seniors and adult children of seniors, and we're going to hear all about his business and his work. So please welcome Michael Grandi, the COO of Jersey Memorial Group. Michael, thank you. So great to have you here on the show.
I'm glad to be here and share some insight with you guys and have you ask the questions.
Thanks for coming in. Once again, you are always the best dressed person in the room, which I both admire and am jealous at the same time. Even if I had the clothes, Andrea, I wouldn't look as good as Michael does in them. So it's no point in buying them. Yeah. But no, thanks for coming in. We appreciate
absolutely.
that.
Thanks for having me, and it's been a great relationship. This year, learning about SCAN and everything the organization does, and we couldn't be prouder to almost be a partner of you guys now. So,
well, thank you. That's nice to hear.
We do appreciate that and appreciate your partnership very much. So, for the folks at home who don't know about Jersey Memorial Group, why don't you tell them a little bit about your funeral business and. I know it's a big question.
Jersey.
The Reader's Digest version.
Yes. Jersey Memorial Group is a network of funeral homes. We're the largest privately owned network of funeral homes with 12 locations in New Jersey and 2 in Pennsylvania. We own our own crematory. So, yes, we are funeral directors and we are in funeral service. What kind of sets us apart and why we've been able to grow so exponentially over the years is, we just feel that funeral service is different than it was years ago. And we're just very, proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. Until you and I had first started talking last year, I had never spent this much time speaking with a funeral director.
Oh, why would you?
You wouldn't unless you're, you have the need.
People aren't banging down our doors.
No,
hey,
let's go see Mike.
But so here's so I knew nothing, right? Here's what surprised me: how invested Michael and Jersey are about people. All you talked about are people. There was no talk about death. There was talk about life and celebration of life, and that just. I thought that was really profoundly moving that you put that much effort and thought into each service. So can you talk about that mindset a little bit?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you bring it up because, funeral service in general has always been what I call very robotic. There's a process.
Yes.
People come in, you have to gather information and data to file a death certificate, to write an obituary, to plan a service. And in the last 20 years, cremation was 10% when I started my career in 98. Now it's over 50% or close to it.
I think that is.
I think the
Cost?
no, I think cost is a factor, but I think it's a small factor. I think it's societal change.
Oh, yeah.
We are not like my grandparents were, cemetery people where you go and visit and plant flowers in the spring and fall, read
like
a book.
It was a family outing almost.
Correct.
To go to,
That really doesn't happen that much anymore.
It doesn't. And the other thing is the family dynamic has changed where, people don't live in the same place anymore. Your kids may have a company that's, 10 states away, where everybody used to live in the same neighborhood and they were close knit. My family's all buried in Long Island. We were from Brooklyn and that was convenient to travel. We're all in Jersey now. So to go and visit, it becomes this situation where it's, it's a 10, 11-hour day trip. So, and we're in New Jersey and close enough. Imagine if we were in Florida or the Carolinas or California.
Yeah.
So with cremation, it gives the families the opportunity to still bury remains if they want to, take them with them if they want to, scatter them. It gives them the options rather than just having their loved one in a state by themselves where nobody visits. So that's one of the changes. But, over my career, it was, again, people came in, they planned for a burial and a service. Now, funeral services become so challenging because there's more emphasis now on celebration of life. There's video tributes now. We have websites and all these things that we do that really make it unique. Our motto is a service as unique as the life they lived.
That's wonderful. I love that.
So when a family comes in, when I sit down with them, the first thing is not, let me collect information for a death certificate.
Because that's what I recall. So just with my parents.
That's how it was.
That's exactly. They come in with the clipboard and it's, like you're at Stop and Shop.
I never walk in a room, and I encourage my staff, you'll never see me walk into an arrangement conference room with any paperwork or a folder. I sit at a table like this, and the first thing that I actually do, believe it or not, is I ask them how they're doing. How are you doing? You're sitting in front of people that have probably gone on an emotional roller coaster. There could have been a sickness. There could have been a tragedy. I want to know what life has been like for them leading up to this over the last couple of months, because then that gives me insight into, number one, their emotional state and what I may be able to do for them to help them get through this process and begin the healing process. And then the second thing actually is finding out about who their loved one was. I mean, if I'm sitting with a spouse, I want to know, how did you meet? What your first date was like, And I've sat at the table with children of a decedent, and I'm asking the widow these questions, and even the children don't know or never heard these stories. And we could spend a half hour, 45 minutes just talking about their life. So when it comes time now to get paperwork or write an obituary or plan for a service, I'm already teed up and know what I need to do to help this family. Maybe I could give them some suggestions, ideas. Maybe some will work, maybe some will not. But that's our job,
Well, you're putting a very human face on it, because I remember—
I felt that from the beginning.
The first question I got about, from my mom was, we need to collect some information. Do you have all your paperwork handy?
It's so intrusive.
It's cold. It's very cold.
There is a business aspect to get things done.
Yes.
But that doesn't need to be the sole focus. I want to know, how I can help these people. And I use the term now, and some funeral directors have frowned upon it or disagreed with me, but everybody's entitled to an opinion. I consider myself a funeral facilitator.
I like that.
A director is somebody that basically takes charge and, puts all the pieces together. And when we're running a funeral, yes, we have to give direction. But when I'm meeting with a family, it's my job to listen and let them direct to me what their needs may be or how I can help them. And then I can help facilitate that and meet their needs, and I consider myself a facilitator because we're doing more services today without a decedent or a body or an urn. It could just be a room with a photo. And how do you create that celebration and give people meaning when, there's nobody present?
Well, Mike, do you feel like your way now that you're describing, which has such a human element to it, is this becoming more the norm?
It has to be. It has to be if we're going to survive into the future, because that's what the consumer wants. I mean, right now we're in, the baby boomer generation, and, they are the most decisive, educated. They know what they want. They're not afraid to ask for it. They don't want to do the status quo or maybe what their parents did.
Yeah.
I've listened to it, and you think about, I remember when I was a kid, and viewings were 2 and 3 days, and they were dreadful. You didn't speak.
You did dread them.
And then they became one day, and now they're not even splitting up in afternoon and evening. They're doing a block, and now some of them are all in one day. You come in the morning for 2 hours, and then you're off to the cemetery. People don't want to sit necessarily all the time, in the funeral for that long. Now, viewing is important. Properly saying goodbye, I'll never discount that. Funeral service is so important. But right now it's not for everybody. And, the 50% of the crowd that maybe wants to do simplified service, we talked on
you were on Scan FYI.
On the FYI, cremation, people think is a very quick process. You just go from point A to point B. And we do more services with open caskets and viewing and family and friends gathering than ever before. So that's just as important to have that time, and if there's anything that we learned after COVID, a lot of people were robbed of the opportunity to properly say goodbye because they couldn't. And more than ever, people are doing services with family and friends, with gathering, because they realize the importance of having that emotional connection and that emotional support at this very hard time in your life, So even when families want cremation, I encourage them, abide by your loved one's wishes. Mm-hmm. But remember, they may say they didn't want a viewing, but it doesn't matter. There's people that love and care about you, that want to acknowledge the fact that you had a loss. They may not know your loved one, but they want to be there for you. So you can do a gathering and have everybody come out to acknowledge that, and you're not going against the wishes of your loved one. So, that's our real focus, is listening to the families, getting to know them, the family dynamic, and being able to provide the best possible service and leave them with that good feeling that we went the extra mile. It's not something that, they had to pay for, because they're paying us for funeral service. Going the extra mile to do those things and take the time to learn them, is no different. So
I went to a Baptist, just along the lines of what you're saying, a Baptist funeral, or a person was of the Baptist faith, and I was just so moved by the whole thing. It wasn't multiple day affair, like you're saying, or this sort of funereal pall over the room where no one's speaking. They had an open casket in the church. They had a band on the stage, and they had people just walk up to the microphone on the altar and testify about this person or his mom or something like that. And then they'd play a song, and then someone else would speak, and then they buried him. And I thought it was the most wonderful celebration. You walked out of that saying, man, I would like to go out this way.
What a way to go.
Yeah, and so it sounds like you guys are just flexible and open to, whatever the needs are of the family.
Oh, absolutely. We encourage families. We'll do, the typical photo montage and things like that. 2 of our funeral homes, we've invested in a very, very elaborate projection system, where we could project on a whole wall behind the casket any image that we want. It could be actually a live ocean with waves crashing, throughout the day, or it just could be a simple screenshot. So, if they were a Yankee fan, We can do Yankee Stadium and project it. And when people walk in and they see that, again, right away it captures all those memories because they know this individual was that diehard fan and that's all they knew. And the minute they walk in now, it doesn't become a funeral. It doesn't become a decedent in a casket. It becomes
It
this.
changes the tone.
We see people actually smile. We've seen people pull out their cameras and actually take a picture of
which
the
you
backdrop.
would never think of at a
And we've had families call us up and say, I went to a service at your funeral home and I have a loved one that's not doing well. And, we want something similar because we've never seen that before. And they'll come in and we'll talk about it and what they want to see. Sometimes we surprise them, So there's no limit. I tell a story and I laugh. David, the owner of the funeral home, and we've been, partners for, 22 years. He was born and raised in Philly and diehard Philly fans, everything Phillies. We buried a young gentleman about 15 years ago, and he was a Yankees fan. And they were all wearing their favorite Yankee jerseys the day of the funeral in honor of him. And they asked if David would wear a Yankees jersey, and they would supply it. So, David over his suit put on a Yankees jersey.
He wouldn't do a Mets jersey, I'm sure.
He would do whatever.
Good
because,
for him.
That's what you do for families, I had a gentleman that was a surfer, loved the beach, passed away, and the family was all wearing their favorite, summer gear, shorts, Hawaiian shirts. That's what they were.
That.
And, it was a memorial service that we did, and it was on a Sunday, and I showed up, and I was in, cargo shorts and a polo shirt, and I walked in, and the family said, wow, we can't believe that you showed up dressed like that to honor our loved one. And I said, absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
That's the thing.
Because no other funeral director would do that I've ever heard of.
Yeah. I agree with you. Yeah.
And we laughed because people were walking in and, they were looking for
Where's
the funeral director. And I'm like, do you need help? Can I help you?
He's the one in the cargo
And they're like, I'm
shorts.
looking for the funeral director.
Can you move aside?
So, then I went and got my name tag, of course. But, that's what they'll remember. That's not something that was a fee or that they paid for. And that's a feeling, again, the great Maya Angelou says, people will always remember not what you did for them, but how you made them feel.
Yes.
It couldn't be the furthest thing from the truth. That gives people a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That family with the Yankee jersey, we'll talk about that for years to
They
come.
They will.
Because, that's what they're left with. And that's the impact that we want to have, on every single family. And, it doesn't work out that way all the time because every family is different in how they want to celebrate things. But when we can capture that, we'll do whatever we can to make it personal. And we tell them, bring their golf clubs, bring a fishing pole, whatever you want to the funeral home that represented who they were. And let's set it up. Because that's what people will remember. If they fished with them all summer long, every summer, and they walk in now and see the tackle box with the fishing pole, that gives people a good feeling.
I feel like in my generation, as a baby boomer, we're not used to that. We're used to the more traditional crying
quiet
for
call
days,
of,
unless people shrieking and whatnot. It's a horrible place to be at a funeral. But you're describing ways that make it okay, and it's more bearable. Mm-hmm. But you're more celebrating the person's life than focusing on that there's a dead person in the room. It sounds so maudlin.
Is the life that they lived, and
that's really wonderful.
We've really captured that, and we continue to look for ways every day to do what we can to retrofit our buildings, whether it's technology or for the ability for us to continue to do that. And we'll have plans in the future as we do renovations to bring those projector systems into all of our buildings and be able to, expand upon that, into the future as the dynamic changes. And I think it's been part of our growth. I mean, in 2001, we were one funeral home serving about, 80 families a year. And now we're 14 locations and serving over 1,500 families a year. And, it didn't happen by accident. It's by attrition. being nationally honored, going that extra mile, wanting to be better, not only for yourself, but for the families that you're serving. And when somebody's looking to retire and it's their name on the building and their goodwill and their legacy, maybe it's multi-generational, they're calling us up and they're saying, I want people like you and guys like you to be able to carry this into the future and carry what I started. Maybe they're not ready for all this technology and all these things. And so that's what's given us also opportunity, which is great because, I want to serve as many people as I can because we feel like we do it the best. We take a lot of pride in what we do. And we want to keep that continuing into the future and then set the bar for the younger generations. I mean, we have a lot of apprentices and young funeral directors that are just breaking out and getting into the field. And if we could set this standard for them, long after I'm done with funeral service, at least I could hang my hat on the fact knowing that not only did I provide a service to the community, but I also helped perpetuate my industry into the future. So, and that's important.
You're listening to the Senior Moments podcast with Mike and Andrea. Our guest today is Michael Grandi, COO of Jersey Memorial Group. So, Michael, again, talking about the first couple of times Andrea and I had spoken to you, you really peeled back the curtain for us about what the whole thing is like and your mindset. And maybe you could talk a little bit to the listeners. What are, let's say, the top 10 questions that might be asked of a funeral director for, folks at home? They maybe have these questions in the back of their mind. It's not like they're going to go and ask them. So here's an opportunity to have some of the more typical questions answered. So what are you mostly questioned about?
If mostly questioned about, is probably would be related to what people could do with cremated remains. There's, there is.
Can I skydive? And,
we've had families ask if we could put them in wine bottles, coffee cans, this, that, if they could scatter them, outside their favorite stadium. You name it. So we get a lot of questions, unique questions about, where they could do that. And then, of course, on a lighter tone, it's all the fallacies about funeral service, and they're like, do people move? And, when they meet a funeral director, they want to ask all the archaic questions and, things like that about, because it's a very secretive thing of what we do.
Embalming
people don't
and
know,
all that.
embalming
the rituals
and all those
behind
things,
the scenes, right?
And so they want to know if people move and, the craziest thing that I maybe have seen. And obviously those are things that you can't really discuss.
So we can't talk about that.
Yeah, we can't really talk about those things.
That'll be the after show.
But it's probably a lot of the interesting, questions and or requests that we get, from families when it comes to, services or things that they could do. Even with, religious services and, families now will want some type of personalized music or songs played. And then we have to, let them know, it's not really liturgical or, we can't do these things. And there is a place and an appropriateness for it. And then we'll accomplish that. But, there's no telling, what people. I'll give you an example of actually, a family sat down with me at our Belmar location years ago, and they said, Michael, don't take any offense to this, but we think funeral homes are horrible. We don't want to be here. We want to do a memorial service, and we want to do it on the beach in Belmar, right at the base with the waves crashing. That was our loved one's life. And
it sounds great.
And I looked at them and I could see they were prepared for me to say, well, that sounds all well and good, but, we're a funeral home and a place of solace and this is what we do. And I looked at them and I said, well, if I could figure it out and make it happen, we'll do that. And they said, really? I said, well, it can't happen by the end of this week, but if you want to plan things for a week or two out, we'll get it done.
Yeah.
And I could see they were like a little taken back because it was like they were throwing the Hail Mary and they didn't think it was going to be accomplished. So I called, Belmar, the police chief, found out ordinances, who's responsible for the beach, what you're allowed to do, not allowed to do.
Right.
And, I said.
Did they then want to sprinkle the loved one's remains?
No,
on the ocean?
they were bringing them home. They just wanted to have a tent, chairs, a table, the urn, the pictures. They had live, music, a violinist there right on the beach.
Kind of no different than a wedding on the beach.
Like a wedding on the beach.
Honestly.
And we made it happen for them.
Good
and
for you.
We made it happen
Cool.
for them. From soup to nuts, everything that they wanted, we were able to accomplish. And I got to tell you, I stood back and took so many pictures that day because for me as a funeral director, it was really a treat to be part of something like that because I almost felt like I was a guest at their service because this was their whole idea. Again, I helped facilitate. It was not my idea.
Yeah.
They told me exactly every detail that they wanted. And they were there an hour early to set up. They had crates with Bach. They wanted the table set up a certain way, and they wanted certain personal items of his. And I just said, let me know when you need me. If you need me to help you get stuff from the car, like I'll be the hired help today,
That's great, though.
So, yeah. It's.
You know what? Can we remind everyone listening and watching that Mike was a guest on Scan FYI.
Mm-hmm.
And we took a pretty deep dive into cremation.
Mm-hmm.
So there, if you want to know a lot more about it, go to our YouTube channel, go to our website, click on
or Facebook.
Or Facebook. It's still on Facebook. It lives on our YouTube channel in a playlist called Scan FYI. And I thought that was a really interesting segment because we learned a lot.
Yep.
So
Yep.
anybody interested, take a look.
So what are some things that people may not know about funerals that they might be surprised to know?
That you could have them on the beach.
Yeah, well, that's one thing for sure.
Yeah, funerals take on a life of their own. And, they should never be dictatorial to a consumer, There's no bad questions. There's no bad ideas. There's things that maybe we can't accomplish, like I just mentioned with, a funeral liturgy in a Catholic church that's more formal. And then you mentioned the Baptist church, which is, again, they have a different way of celebrating. So, families need to know that it's about them and their loved one. It's not about me in the funeral home. And they should feel free to ask whatever they want to ask. If they have a certain idea and it's something that could be accomplished, their funeral director, should try to accommodate that for them. And, again, I tell every consumer, and I've been saying this for the last 20 years, with all the questions I've been asked, I said, as long as it's not illegal or unethical, and this is the truth,
I'll do it.
I will do or try in my power to accomplish whatever you set out. And that's been my philosophy since I was a funeral director from day one.
All right. So that's a great segue into how did you get into this business? Why don't you tell folks at home a little bit about your journey, how to get started? Now, originally, just from you and I talking, this wasn't the initial career path.
No, the furthest thing from it. So after high school, I had aspirations to go into law enforcement. I wanted to be a cop. I enrolled in Brookdale. Ended up getting my criminal justice degree and took the civil service exam. And back at that time, it was between 95 and 98, I went to college. There was a lot of nepotism. So, a lot of my friends and classmates, their dads, uncles, brothers were cops. They were going into the academy.
Like the family business.
Family business. And it's understandable. And I was not bitter about it. This is life. And so what I started doing was I started to look at other ways that to get my foot in the door or make it look good on my resume. So I contacted the probation department, the corrections, medical examiners, you name it. Even if I could open mail in their offices, I would have done it,
Yeah.
And of course, nobody was hiring. You had to have certifications and, I'm Italian, so of course, Sunday dinner with mom, and we're sitting having dinner on a Sunday, and my mom says, "What about a funeral home?" And I said, "Funeral home."
What?
And we started talking, and it's like, well, it's they work with the police and they do escorts and death notifications and all these things. And I said, well, and she said maybe with me wanting law enforcement, maybe my personality, you're helping people, So I said, well, I'll see. So I called a local funeral home.
So you were open to it. You weren't.
At first I was surprised by it, but I didn't discount it. And at this point I wanted to do something with my life instead of just wait, 4 years, that's how long you're on the list, And so I called the funeral home and They told me, what was involved with becoming a funeral director, and you had to do a 2-year apprenticeship, and here's where the college was, Mercer County College, all these things. So I called the school, and I went up to see the executive director at the time, and they laid out the program, and he said, well, where are you working? And I said, well, I don't really have a job. I mean, I'm just prospecting to see if I could do this as a career. And he said, well, based upon your time frame and you already have a degree, you should really have a job. So when your 2-year apprenticeship is done, you're graduating. And so I left that day and began door knocking. And we had the yellow pages still back then.
Oh, my gosh.
You remember that? And
Yeah.
I went, on the page with funerals, and I went day by day and door knocked with a suit. And, after about 4 or 5 months, nobody would hire me. So now I'm like, I can't do law enforcement. I can't do funeral service. Like, what am I going to go back to college for now? And out of the blue, I got a call from the college, and it was the executive director. And he said, hey, are you still interested in attending mortuary school? I said, yes. He said, well, there's a funeral home that called asking if we had any prospective students. And
wow.
I went on the interview the next day. I was hired, and after I was hired, little did I know I'd be a maintenance guy for a few months, washing cars and pulling weeds.
No, you told me that story. Can you share that with the listeners?
So my first day on the job, I showed up with my suit. I'm ready to be a funeral director. I'm excited. I'm gung-ho. I got this job. And, the director looks at me and goes, what's this? And I said, I'm ready to be a funeral director. Yeah. And he said, I think you should go home and change and come back in jeans. And you got weeds to pull, Roundup to spray in the parking lot. There's cars to wash and all these things. And I went home, I changed, I came back, I did it. And, day after day, I washed the cars. I went in after the funerals left. I would clean and vacuum, clean the bathrooms. I mean, that was my job. I was not working within funeral service or learning any aspect of it. And after a few months, they said, why don't you come to work with a suit tomorrow? You've been doing a lot of maintenance and everything else. And I think we'll start, teaching you the funeral business. And I came the next day in a suit, worked the funeral, and after about the first probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I knew I'd never look back on law enforcement. I really knew that this funeral service was it, for the rest of my life. And I loved every aspect of it. Before I even knew every aspect, I was just really interested in learning and absorbing and digesting. And, it was a challenge. I wasn't always the best student. So, anatomy, chemistry, microbiology, pathology. I mean, when I heard that, I was like, funeral service, no thank you.
But you got through all that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was tough. It was the hardest I've ever worked in my life. Academically, in those 2 years, again, I got through high school, wasn't that really great student, took me a lot longer to learn. I mean, even when I went to Brookdale, the first year I took all remedial courses because I wasn't on college level, coming out of high school. And I was smart, but I really needed to apply myself. Yeah. And so I remember booking my classes like afternoon and evening so that I had like a 6-hour gap in between so that it didn't make sense to go home. And in between, I would do my homework and study or go to the lab and take out, sign out a skeleton to just study bones and, all those things. And, for 2 years, I worked Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I went to school Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I worked Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. And it was literally 2 years of nothing but
just put everything on hold. And
my life was on hold. And I'm like, this is it. And it's 2 years of hard work and dedication. And then the rest of my life, cruise control.
But now that's a question. So if somebody is wondering, well, what do you have to do to become a funeral director?
Oh, great question.
So you had to be an apprentice.
You have to do a 2-year apprenticeship. It's monthly reports get documented with the mortuary board, and you have to do 75 embalmings, 75 funerals, and 25 arrangements within a 2-year period. You do it concurrently at the same time.
So you had to find a program that specialized in this.
It's mortuary science.
Mortuary science.
And
okay.
It was offered at Mercer County Community College.
I didn't even know that.
You need a home to sort of sponsor you to do that?
You need a funeral home to hire you, and then a preceptor, which is your training, and they sign your monthly reports, and that documents the work that you're doing for the state. So once you meet the requirements, so after you've done your 2 years, you have your 75 embalmings, your 75 funerals, your 25 arrangements, Then you've graduated. You take a national board exam, which when I took it was about 600 questions,
and now
6 hours.
You're one of the, you're on the board that puts that questionnaire together.
Wow.
Yeah,
Look,
so,
you've come full circle.
The licensing exam that licensed me as a funeral director in 2000, which licenses all funeral or accredits funeral directors in all 50 states, which is the International Conference of Funeral Service Examining Boards. I sit on their exam committee, and last year we actually spent a week in Rogers, Arkansas, and I worked on setting the standard for pass-fail for our exam for 2023. So the exam that I took to license me is now the exam that I am scrutinizing for the future generations.
Yeah.
But one of the proudest moments in my life,
it has to be.
And the executive director of my mortuary school, Rob Smith, who I saw at their conference, asked me to speak for his group at their conference in Atlanta, virtually over a Zoom this year. And to have the executive director of the college, that first person I met with that day, and who was my professor, now asking me, and he's the executive director of the American Board of Funeral Service Education. He accredits the colleges, and he asked me to speak for his group.
How did that feel?
Oh, it was. I can't tell you, how proud of where I've gone, what I've accomplished. I mean,
quite an accomplishment.
Truly blessed. It's been hard work. It's been drive and motivation, and I'm just the kind of person that I'm never satisfied. You could always do more. You could strive for more. I want to always keep reinventing myself, helping my staff, the families, my industry, doing what I can to keep growing. And there's still more that I don't even know that I've yet to do that's out there that I look forward to the future to see what that looks like.
I mean, it feels like you made this opportunity happen and for yourself. And then the fact that you came full circle and now write this exam, it's really remarkable. Yeah. So kudos to you for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So you've been in the business now a while.
25 years. I started my apprenticeship in 98.
Wow. Okay. And so you've been at Jersey Memorial
since 2001. I was hired I interviewed with them in 2001. And they wouldn't hire me because they were actually...
You showed them.
At the time they were looking, I didn't know this when I interviewed, but they were looking for a manager. Somebody that's got 10, 15 years experience and understands budgeting, community relations, operations, all those things. I was a year out of mortuary school, so I was a rookie, And when I knew they were looking for a manager, I said, listen, you need somebody to still... do all your preparation work, all your arrangements, and take all your funerals. I'm licensed to do that. How about you hire me? I will take on that role. You keep interviewing for a manager, and when you find a manager, I'll leave. I'll quit.
Wow.
And they took me up on that offer. And luckily, I've worked for reputable firms, even as an apprentice. And there was a lot of things I saw that I didn't agree with, that I felt could be done better based on what I learned. And I kept bringing it up to them. And, I got thrown out of the office a few times because here's a 24, 25-year-old kid telling the owner of a business that I think I could make things better if you just give me some money and let me purchase some things and really. So I was a little relentless for a few months. And then finally they did give in. And, if I didn't succeed, I would have had to, pay them back for, the money I spent. But I affected some change from our offices to our paperwork to our presentation folders, everything from the front side of the funeral home to the preparation room. And I was hired by them August 9th of 2001, and I think it was October or November. They came to me and said, listen, you're not management material. You have a lot to learn.
That's pretty funny.
You
should have that quote up in your office.
You're not management material, and look at me now. But you're not management material. You have a lot to learn. However, we're willing to invest over the next 3 to 5 years in helping you get there. So let's send the paperwork to the state.
That was a lucky break for you.
Yeah, let's put your name on the building, and I became manager in November. It was like 2001, and that was it. But lucky break, yes. But I always say I don't believe in luck. I think luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Correct.
And I believe in that. So I was not afraid to show what I was capable of. I had that motivation and drive, and yes, there was that opportunity there, and I went for it. And it's funny because over the years, yes, we're the success story, but our greatest successes have been our greatest failures. Over the years, I've made tremendous amount of mistakes from staffing and my personality, my management styles, even our growth and how that looked, and not spending when we should have spent, and all these things. There's no playbook. Number one, you're young and naive and you don't understand business. And then number two, you're kind of growing at the same time the business is growing, instead of somebody that's got all this experience building a business. And, David and I, over the years, it's really, taking a step back and looking. I mean, we are completely different people and individuals than we were back then. And, you have to acknowledge those, failures and those mistakes, because then you learn, you continue to grow, and you can continue to forge ahead in the future. So it hasn't all been peaches and cream, but, we overcame adversity. It was hard growing, and when you can't hire people, working 70-hour weeks and being on call every night of the week, and trying to manage your own personal life.
You had a personal life too?
We tried, but yeah. So it's been a great journey, one that I wouldn't have changed, one bit, and a lot of people along the way have helped us, because if I said we did it all by ourselves, surrounding ourselves with successful people. I have a business coach that I've had for years, Brian Dunphy, and he has, took me from a manager to, an executive, and changed that thinking, because sometimes you just can't, when you're in operations, it's hard to really look at things from the 38,000
sort of
view,
in the business.
You're down here, and there was a lot of struggles for a lot of years with our growth. And my biggest fear was the business outgrowing my potential. And, luckily that didn't happen because, of his guidance. And I work with him till this day. And there's still things I'm still trying to work towards and improve. And he's helping me, go to places, for the future.
So a couple more questions before we wrap, Michael.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for being here today. We
Absolutely.
really do appreciate that. So, well, first of all, I think folks would like to know where your facilities are located locally, Monmouth and Ocean County, but then also maybe talk a little bit about, you've been with the firm now 2 decades.
Yeah, 22 years. August was 22 years.
So just maybe talk about the differences a little bit in your organization, why you love being there, and how it's different from, other experiences.
Absolutely. So as far as our firms, we're in pretty much, almost every county from Middlesex south. We own Old Bridge Funeral Home, which is an Old Bridge Waite Funeral Home and Cremation Service in Morganville, and Beetle Funeral Home in Matawan. So those are, the closest ones to proximity. But we're in Burlington County. We have 3 locations there. We have 2 in Mercer County. We have 3 in Camden County, and then we're in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and Monroe County in the Poconos.
Wow, it's impressive.
And that's where our crematory is, because that was a proud moment for us. Is people don't know this, but in New Jersey you can't own or operate crematories. It's separate. They're owned and operated by cemeteries, and it was always something that bothered me because I oversee burial and I oversee mausoleum entombment, but with cremation, when we just drop somebody
you
off
have to
at the
let
crematory,
it go.
We leave, and that happens privately, and then I go back and I pick up this box. So if you ever looked at me and said, Michael, is this my mom or dad? I can't guarantee. I was not there to see the process. And
which is something I think a lot of people would never think about. And I know you and I, we talked about this on FYI.
Yeah. So we purchased a funeral home with a crematory in Pennsylvania to circumvent that. And
because
now
in Pennsylvania,
you can own and operate your own. And, we do our own cremation. We have our own funeral directors that are certified crematory operators. And one of the proudest moments in my career, because now, when we bring a loved one into our care, they never leave the care of my funeral directors, and we're proud of that. So, that's the organization as a whole. We, like I said, we have pre-need funeral directors that just write, pre-arrangements and things like that. And really what sets us apart and what I'm proud of is, I sent an email out this morning to my staff, and I'll show it to you afterwards. I'll forward it to you. But this week we had a very busy week. And a lot of moving parts and pieces. And my staff from Middlesex County was going down to Camden County, and everybody was really, it was a collective effort, and the resources of everybody as a team. And I sent an email this morning, just saying that I couldn't be more proud of the Jersey Memorial Group culture, and how my staff members, that are here embrace this. And, when one region needs help because there's several funerals or services or families in need, and there's not enough funeral directors to get it done. I mean, I just pick up the phone or I shoot a text message, and right away it's like, I'm over here. I could come down and help. What do they need? And, that played out this week, and I watched it happen. And even as we speak, there's a funeral happening in, Ewing, New Jersey, out of one of our locations there that, one of my funeral directors is on from Old Bridge area. So that is really, for me, watching the staff that you built, because, again, part of my job in operations is, developing staff and hiring talented people. And we've got this crop of people and this great staff that they believe in what we do. And they have that same mindset and that family first mentality, because that's what we're really about.
That's good.
What's next for your firm? What's the future hold? The
future is just continuing to grow. There's going to be future opportunities for our company to expand. I mean, those will come about. Myself, I want to continue to grow as an executive and continue to learn. I've done some, public speaking and had some great opportunities to travel around the country and be involved in organizations like the conference or National Funeral Director Association. So I want to continue with those things. And there's a 21st Century Initiative, which is a group of funeral directors that was put together by Alan Creedy, who's a great funeral director, consultant and a brilliant guy in our industry. And he put this group together, and I've learned so much just, again, from your colleagues and your peers and talking about what the future like. So that's, all the things that I'm doing and working on. And this, not everybody knows this, even people very close to me. I don't think my parents really know this, but I'm writing a book.
Yes.
That I've been working on and hope to have finished by the end of the year or early next year. And,
can you tell us what it's about?
Yes.
Fiction, nonfiction?
It's a little bit, it's motivational, inspiring. It's a little bit about my story, and it really premises on my personal life and my path. Didn't go according to the plan. And
you have a working title yet?
The title is Life Unscripted. And it's really about how, sometimes we can paint ourselves into this box because we have our mindset on one thing. And there's other opportunities that have the ability to come about, and we sometimes don't, capture them or seize those opportunities. So I go into everything from generalizations just about life from when we're kids. And, you're asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? I mean, we're planting that seed already. And then I look back at my life, and I wanted to be a cop, and I ended up in funeral service. And now, at 45 years old, we have a great business that's established, and I'm doing all these different things with organizations that help with, licensing and educating funeral directors now. And I still don't know again, all those little things that I'll be in funeral service for the rest of my life, but all those little things that come about. And, I told Brian years ago, and if he listens to this, he'll probably remember, I said, someday I hope to write a book. And he's like, well, why aren't you, And it's just, again, you could do whatever you want as long as you make the time for it. So finally I delved in, and now that the business is okay and I don't have to dedicate as much of my time and the hours. I mean, we still put them in, but now when I have some free time, I could focus on that. But yes, I wanted to inspire people, make it be relatable to some of my experiences. It talks about some of my career and things like that. And then really what it does is, it takes everything that I've learned from looking back on my life and could now make things very relatable to the things that I saw that were playing out and happening that I didn't even realize at the time,
Well, we'll have to have you back for the book signing event.
Exactly. Yep. Perfect.
Hope it's a bestseller.
And folks, if you want to see Michael before his book is finished, you are going to have that opportunity right here at SCAN. October 25th, he'll be part of a really great panel we're putting together. It's called Getting Your Ducks in a Row. It will feature Michael, and will also feature Mark Vigiani and Adam Rubin. And the two sponsors of SCAN also. Mark is president of Keller Williams Central Monmouth Real Estate, and Adam Rubin is a elder law attorney with Levine, Furman, and Rubin. And of course, Michael will be on that panel. The professional panelists will discuss the importance of preparing your personal documents and making your wishes and plans known to your family. So that's a really important event. That'll be here at 11:30 on October 25th. Give us a call to register.
Yeah, limited space, so make sure you register. Yep.
So that'll be a chance to pick Michael's brain.
Yeah.
We'll lock the doors.
Before he gets too famous.
No, never.
Well, you still have a chance to talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, where can folks find out more about Jersey Memorial Group, get information, and
they can our website is www.jerseymemorial.com. And when you go to that website, it lists all of our locations, and any one of the websites that they go to, we're actually in the process of, looking at a lot of the information and expanding upon it, but it's got everything in there. They could always feel free to reach out to myself or one of our funeral directors as well. I mean, just because I have a certain role with my company, when my staff call me up and they say there's a family here and they only want to meet with you,
you make it happen.
I make it happen because, again, I say I'm a funeral director first. That's where my heart is, and that's where it is. So yeah, they could visit our website, learn more about our company, and even. If they're not in our area and they want to just call and just pick our brain or ask a question because they don't feel comfortable walking into a funeral home, again, education and knowledge is what we pride ourselves in, and that's what we want to provide to people.
JerseyMemorial.com, folks. Be here on October 25th for Getting Your Ducks in a Row and have a chance to meet and speak with Michael. And when they make the TV movie of the book that you're writing this year, who's going to play you? Who's going to play you in the role?
That's a good question. I don't know. I've never thought about that. What's your thought?
No, I'm going to let you go. No, you go first.
Then we'll go.
I had a thought right away.
I don't really know. I'm not.
What? No one's asked you that before?
Nobody's asked me that before. No.
Shocking.
No.
I was going to say Pacino, Al Pacino.
Al Pacino.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
He might be too old to play
hopefully
you.
He's still around by that time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like younger actors that are more relatable, but
right.
I don't really watch too many movies today, so it's like I do know a lot of the older actors, but hopefully he's like a really, really good looking guy.
Yeah. He's a NASCAR driver too.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was thinking a younger version of like an Andy Garcia.
Oh, there you go. Who would that be though?
I don't know.
All right.
But that's what I thought of right away.
Yeah.
On the next episode of the Senior Moments podcast, we're going to find out who's going to play Michael.
That's right.
Call in with your suggestions, and we'll let them know. Michael, thanks so much for being on the show.
Oh, it's been great.
And
I really enjoyed it.
Honestly, have really enjoyed and appreciated getting to know you this year on a personal level. And we're just really grateful for your support here at SCAN.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for all you guys do.
I think what's really important for people to understand is that a lot of people have these preconceived notions about a funeral. I know I certainly did. And they're not happy, they're not good. Mm-hmm. And you have shown to me personally, and I think everyone, it doesn't have to be that way.
Funeral directors are not scary people, and funerals are not scary.
But you have options. You don't have to settle for the same old thing. And maybe if your funeral director tells you that you do, you need to find a different place.
Yeah. JerseyMemorial.com.
Jersey Memorial Day. Yes, exactly.
All right, folks. Well, this has been the Senior Moments podcast. Thanks to our sponsor, Mark Vigiani of Keller Williams Real Estate Homedale. Thank you to Ming Chen, as always, and his Shared Universe podcast studio. Our guest has been Michael Grandi. Tune in next time, and you can listen to this show wherever you get your pod fix. iHeart, iTunes, where are we? Spotify, medium brown on your toaster oven, Pandora, you name it.
There too, microwave.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. We'll catch you next time. This has been the Senior Moments podcast. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.